Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS Inform. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining us in the studio, as he does on Fridays, to kind of wrap up the legislation that has happened, and that is State Senator Mark Messmer. Senator, welcome to the show.
Great to be here as always.
Well, first of all, we're going to talk about some bills that have passed the Senate, and we're going to talk about some progress that you've had with some of the bills that you've been a part of in the House.
Yep.
So let's start with within the Senate. I guess that items that have now become law or will become law.
Yes, several of these, had no changes and will go straight to the governor's desk. Some of them had slight changes. We're really working hard this session to, as we change bills in the House and the Senate, to have the Senate and House sponsors and authors work together very closely. So if the bill gets changed, you can just bring it back for a single concurrence vote and not send it to conference committee. Because with the pandemic, we're trying to avoid, because when you have conference committees, you have to have hearings that ends up with a crowd of people in a small room, and we're just trying to do. There will be some, but we're really trying to work hard to avoid that, where at all possible. So, one of the bills that I had sponsored in the Senate was House Bill 1004, and it sets up a $60 million grant fund. We're calling it the Hoosier Hospitality Small Business Grant Program. It's not limited to Hoosier Hospitality, but people that were in the tourism business, restaurants, hotels, convention venues. I mean, people that most of them got left out of the PPP loan programs last spring, because to get those, you had to maintain your employees. Well, many of them, if you had no business, most of them had to lay the people off, so they didn't qualify for the federal programs. So this will allow companies with less than 100 people, less than 10 million in total sales. That's what we're kind of categorizing the small business level of. And if from March of last year until April of this year, and any month that you had a 30% reduction in your sales as compared to 2019, you would be eligible to get 100% of your payroll costs reimbursed and 80% of your non-payroll costs, up to $10,000 in a single month maximum, and then maximum of $50,000 for the year. So it should be a good shot in the arm for those small business owners especially the hospitality industry, last year, and even coming into this year, they've taken a heck of a hit, from the pandemic. So, and we do allow IEDC, Indiana Economic Development Corporation, will monitor administer the grant program, and if they're running out of applicants, we're giving them the ability to adopt, rules that would allow it to open up to, to a more broader business base.
Excellent.
Yeah. So very, very pleased with that one. That one passed out of the Senate this week unanimously, and we did do a slight change with an IEDC, rulemaking tweak that we'll send it back in the House. We'll have to vote, probably early next week. I think it went on third reading on Tuesday, so probably back on their calendar, by Monday. House Bill 1125 deals with deceptive lead generation. You might say, well, what the heck is that? So if you watch TV, I don't know, afternoons, evenings, I know I see it a lot of time in the evening, you'll see an advertisement for a claim that a medical device or a drug has been recalled by the FDA, and we're looking for people who think they might have been injured or sickened by a specific drug or medical device. And they said, I'm a non-attorney spokesperson. And all that is a marketing company that's trying to get people to call in that think they were injured, maybe never were injured, and in these cases, there never was an FDA recall. So we've set up what is a false advertising in those situations. And what these companies do is get names of people that think they might have been injured, whether they were or not, and they develop a pool of people that then they go to law firms and sell that off to then try to get a class action lawsuit started against drug companies or medical companies. Wow. So it makes it a deceptive act, which has financial penalties to do that, and we're one of many states that are working on that legislation last year and this year, trying to get a grip on those deceptive lead generation activities. So.
I was wondering how, if in Indiana you can watch stations from other markets, so if it's from another state, how does that?
Well, they still, if it's Kentucky or Illinois, here, sometimes you would get maybe Chicago stations, but if they're advertising in Indiana, and it's if it's a cable company that's based here and somebody's advertising, I mean, it would have to be advertising that was based in a Indiana distribution system. Now, if it's a Kentucky TV station and you're picking up a broadcast, unless Kentucky's got that law, you'd still see
So the idea is to get everybody to do that.
do it. Yeah.
Okay.
And over time they will. So that passed. There might have been a couple of no votes, but that was, I mean, it might have been 48-1. But strong support for that. And then the third bill that I thought was interesting, we did have 28 bills that passed this week. And of those 28, 25 were bipartisan, and 13 were unanimous, which kind of goes along with a typical session percentages of strong, usually strong unanimous and strong bipartisan support of about everything we do. Third bill, House Bill 1156, and a couple of years we passed a law that prevented employers from requiring that you get microchipped as a term of employment. And because if you prior to passing that law, if your employer would have said, Bill, you need to get a microchip so we can track your activities, or you're fired. Well, we passed a bill that stopped that 2 years ago, but we forgot to include in the definition government employees. So this House Bill 1156 is the same language we did 2 years ago, but we added, whether you're local or state government, you can't microchip your employees either.
Didn't even know that was. I don't even remember that one coming up.
Well, it
That
probably
stuck by.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's good. But I mean, people do microchip their pets. So if your pets get lost, but I mean, a pet is not the same as a people.
Yeah, and you cannot do that. That's the point of that law.
Right,
You cannot do that. Okay.
Now you can voluntarily do it, but you just can't. You can't be forced to do it, or be fired. So.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then my bills.
Yes, your bills that have moved to the House. And what has happened?
And activity. Some activity this week. So Senate Bill 303 passed on the House floor Tuesday, I think 70-something to 17. And that's a bill that deals with the sale of E15. The EPA allows E15 to be sold, E10, year-round, E15 part of the year based on, because as the temperatures change outside, sometimes the vapor pressures get too low, and under our current definitions, and to allow it to be sold year-round. And for the last 2 years, the E15 marketers, and primarily the Farm Bureau Co-op, Country Mark Co-op down in Mount Vernon, was the company that really wanted to push that. And I said, if we're going to maximize more use of E15, I said, I want to require a consumer notice label on the pump that you are buying E15, because most people, don't know they are. And the EPA requires a label, which there are companies that sell what the 88 octane on a pump today is E15. And most people don't know it is not, and sometimes the pumps say contains up to 10% alcohol on the pump, sometimes. But if it's E15, which is 15% alcohol, or the 88 octane that some people are selling, there's supposed to be an EPA label somewhere on the pump. Doesn't say where they got to put it. It could be down, on the bottom. Could be, but my bill required. It just says. It says, notice or contain, E15. Check your owner's manual for compatibility and warranty requirements, because boats, motorcycles, small engines, lawnmower engines, they can't tolerate use of E15 in the fuel. It'll ruin the engines, pretty quickly. Even some cars, my 2013 Highlander on the gas cap has a little slash thing, E15-E85, don't use. And there's no notice requirement for consumers that you're buying E15.
And generally, that's the lower octane. You just don't know it.
Yep.
Did not realize that.
Yep. So.
Well, even if I see the label, I don't know if I would understand the difference. So you just get people to understand.
Yeah, but if you see E15, you'd say, well, what's that? And then you might actually pull your manual out, or call your dealer. Hey, I've got a, And most vehicles newer than 2014 are designed to handle it. 2015, more, even more. Some European car manufacturers absolutely, know E15, even brand new ones. So, it's good to check your manual. And if you've got a car that has a specific octane requirement, usually your dealer will tell you that when you pick it up, or it'll have in your manual, don't use 86 octane or use only, but the 88 octane or the E15, is definitely something you want to pay attention to. You know, more use of E15 means, you know, better more markets for our corn growers. So it's a positive overall. But I just felt like, you know, consumer
People need to know it.
You need to know it. And it really cracked me up. The guy from Poet, it's one of the alcohol refineries up north. He came into the House committee last week and he said, "I oppose the label." He said, "More information for consumers is just going to confuse them." He was speaking from his own self-interest.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then Senate Bill 304, it prohibits what they call duty to defend clauses, which I think we covered in the first half of session. We require it in all private contracts, whether you're on public work or private work, but the state was still putting that clause in some of their contracts. And so Senate Bill 304 prohibits the state or local government from putting it in their contracts as well. It moved out of Judiciary Committee 9-0 this week. And Senate Bill 305, the Physical Therapist Compact, which allows people that are in compact states with a physical therapist or physical therapist assistant license to move from state to state and have license reciprocity. So it doesn't change any of the, you know, the standards of care that physical therapists have to comply with in any state. And really in all states that are compact states, their rules of what those people can do is have to be pretty similar. So,
And how many weeks we got left? 3, 4?
We'll wrap up our committee work on April 8th, and then we'll wrap up session we're planning on April 22nd.
Okay. So moving pretty quick. Next thing, big budget will be coming up.
You bet.
All right. Well, Senator, thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome. Great to be here.
We hope that you have learned something today, and if you'd like to contact State Senator Mark Messmer, it's real easy to do. You just simply send him an email.
Yep. S48 at iga.in.gov is the one I can remember. It's the easiest.
All right. Thank you very much, Senator.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching 18 WJTS. We are local people watching local people.